Yup, man. Tuning in Savage Productions.
Let's go.
Myself, they call me Sevlo. Kill this beat, shoot it up like Twisted Meadow. It's incredible, killers will spit the metaphor. Aiming for a fitted cap and quick to let the metal blow. I'm a Eastside baby. In the middle with the projects, the Eastside raised me. Going crazy on the daily, they say nothing could save me. But I'm a ride to the casket, close.
Grumpy, you know Grumpy? Hey, if you see Grumpy, you know him, bro. He passes through town Sev, food up over here. Okay, gracias.
There's some things I gotta ask.
Mall High Salute, what's up? Your boy Savage, aka Sev Cisneros. You tuning in to Sevlo's Hotels 2.0. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's get to this story. Before I start this, I am not promoting gang life, gang culture. I'm just telling a testimony, giving life experiences, shining some light on the Denver Metro. So with that being said, let's get to this video. So I recently got a comment from one of my homies from Pueblo, and he's like, he hopped on my one of my videos like, dang fool, I didn't even know you were doing YouTube. Shout out to the homie Z. And what's crazy about it is, bro, is I always heard that Pueblo, before I even went to the penitentiary, I always heard how turned up they were, right? That they got their own politics out there in Pueblo. The culture is big out there, and they took on a lot of, I would have to say, influence from California. A lot of essays out there, a lot of Crips out there, but predominantly a lot of Sureños in the essays, right? And you got to understand, like, Pueblo is a smaller city, but 85-90% of them fools got gang ties. A lot of people say that Pueblo's like a dead zone for Colorado because it's just a lot of poverty over there. And, you know, they do their own thing. They got their own ways out there. Now, I'm from a bigger city, Denver. Pueblo's probably 2 hours away from Denver. And when I was growing up, I really didn't acknowledge Pueblo. I just heard about it. I really didn't know too much about it till I went to prison. But they used to always say, like, my older cousins had a family that were from out there. And we actually went out there, but they would say, it's a blue city. There's no red rags. There's no anything but Crips and Sureños. That's all they said. And basically, that's what it was. Now, it's a new day and age, and I guess they got Norteños out there and Dalmus or whatever. But when I was growing up, that's all you heard, right? And I'm going to be real with you, bro. I didn't know how bad it really was out there until I got to the penitentiary and really kind of had some homies that I was introduced to from Pueblo. And I have to say, their hostility towards each other was on another level. Like, they hated each other. So you have the Crips and the Sureños. They always been rivals out there. They always been enemies. And those are the two biggest organizations. Then you have another organization, and it's smaller in numbers, but they have a reputation for putting in work, and they're called Latin Ace. They wear LA hats, and they're not essays. They're like more, I would have to say, Chicanos. And they beef with the Sureños because just kind of a power trip. And they're not backed by anybody but themselves. So it's kind of like a local hood out there. So in saying that, the two big organizations is the Crips and the Sureños, and then the Latin Aces. They're like smaller in numbers. So them having beef. Oh, nice. My wife's such a good wife. I love you, girl. Love you. Woo! That's what I love. But them having beef kind of puts a target on their back, because when they go to the county and they go to the penitentiaries, they don't have the numbers a lot of the times to really push the line, because a lot of the population chose up who they were going to chill with, right? They were going to bang with. And a lot of them fools out there chose majority of the Sureño hoods, or, you know, the Crip hoods that are out there. So it's incredible, bro, because like in Denver, you're not really going to see that. Like, we didn't really see essays and all that, bro. Like, we just seen the Crips and Bloods and our original Denver hoods, like G's and Northside Mafias and all the originals. So we didn't really have a lot of the culture from the essays at all. So when you go to the penitentiary, it's a whole culture shock, because there is a lot of Sureño cities outside of Denver, and you realize then that them fools are deep in a lot of these cities, and majority everybody don't get along. A lot of people that are not Sureños, they do not get along with Sureños. And maybe that's just because of the number aspect and the power trips. So in saying that too, we didn't really have a lot of hatred towards Sureños because we didn't see them. Me as a person, I really didn't have really no hatred towards Sureños because I didn't see them ever. They were never really a factor in the Denver metro. The first time I really seen them and really just had a bad taste was on the prison yard for different things that how they conducted themselves. Now, not taken away from their military minds and the militants and the riders they have. It was just always the dominant of the Crips and the dominant of the Sureños. They would always get into it with each other, right? In prison. So long story short, bro, at one time when I was doing prison time and I was on the yard, the Sureños had big numbers, right? And for a lot of yards, if you were kind of like enemy to any of the Sureño hoods, they were, at the time, they were just saying that this is a no Norteño yard. This is a no, they said the Chicky 30s, this is a no Chicky 30 yard, but the Chicky 30 Crips had a little more leeway because of Crippin'. And they also said this was a no ace yard. That's what they called them, the Latin aces. So they were making it hard, bro. And that's why the Denver car formed a little bit. They got some of the more Chicano hoods started getting kind of smart. Well, we were on the yard, right, for a minute, and I remember one of the homies pulls up and they say, this fool's from the east side. And just him being from the east side, homies embraced it, right? East side Denver fools embraced it because there was actually a little car of east side homies, like straight east side Denver fools, OGs and youngsters, right? So they embraced homie. Well, on this yard, a lot of the Latin aces on this yard, they were kind of just like doing their own time, bro, and they kind of like didn't really push the line for Latin ace. But there's also a little chapter that formed, and it was some black fools that messed with the Latin aces, and they formed a branch off of them called Looney Ace Crips. And when they did that, it was probably one of the smartest things. Now, I don't know if it started in the penitentiary or started in Pueblo, but they had a small chapter called Looney Ace Crippin', and that was off of the Latin aces. So some of the fools said, hey, since these fools are surviving on the yards because of the Crippin', we're going to get put on Looney Ace Crips. And it's kind of interesting because some of the Latin aces, they don't push the Crippin', but them Looney Ace Crips, they do. So it's kind of like the Chicky 30 Swamptons and the Chicky 30 Crips. Wow. That fool, the homie Z, basically he gets put on Looney Ace Crip. Call it what you want, but he's actually a little rider. And he did a smart thing for himself because them Sureños was tripping. And when he got put on Crip, they couldn't just push the line on the whole Crip car because it would have started a war. So it happened, right? And I don't know if some of the Sureños from Pueblo got super pissed. Well, there's this individual up there, right? And he always was one of them little fools that he kept a bitter beer face, like he was always mad, just, mugging. And he knew this fool from the streets, the homie Z. And they had history from Pueblo. We're going to call this fool George, right? We'll call him Juanito. And he messed with the Sureños from Pueblo. Z, he was a Looney Ace Crip. And I don't know if he was mad because that fool stayed on the yard, but one day we're at the yard and the yard split up between the upper yard and the lower yard, but you can talk at that fence, right? The guards try to not allow you to, but people do. And there was a commotion. And I remember Z was at the fence, and the homies that were with us, they were like, hey, watch what's going on. Well, I seen the Sureños and the fool that mad, the Juanito dude, he's at the fence with Z, and they're walking back and forth, but you could tell the energy's all bad. And I just kind of hear, and people don't try to make it obvious, but they're kind of having a dispute. And something happened about Z was messing with this fool's baby's mom. And that fool was pissed. Well, when you go back from yard, they allow the upper yard to go. And then they open the gate for the lower yard to go back to the units. And the fool, Juanito, he's like, when we go back, I'm staying back and I need my fade session. And Z, he thought he was just going to scare Z. And Z was like, bet. Z was not really a rowdy fool that was loud, but he was a rider. So he said, you can have that. Well, they're pumping the SA fool's head up. And then you seen the Sureños start clicking up and they start gathering up to walk out together. And the interesting part about it is this just happened right after something happened with two other cars. Well, one of the cars come up to the OG homie and he says, what's happening? We're right behind you because we don't even like them fools. Like, I guess they had a dispute. So it was weird because the Sureños are walking. You got to go through a metal detector. And then outside of the metal detector, you walk and there's this open pathway. And they're walking ahead. And then Z's right there. And then our homies are behind them. And then this other car, and I'm not even going to say who it is, they're behind us. The Sureños kind of look back and they realized that there was two groups of people they didn't get along with. So I think they were actually going to jump Z, and then they realized that they were kind of outnumbered at the time. Now, not saying that they were outnumbered on that facility, but at that time, there was not enough Sureños to go to war with both to start something, a group thing with two different cars that really they were not seeing eye to eye at the time. So when that happened, it forced the little fool Juanito to get the heads up with Z. Now, this is the thing. Z was a bigger youngster than Juanito. And Juanito was expecting them to actually just jump this fool. But when it turned to a one-on-one, they set it off right in the little pathway, bro, where the guards could see. They just start squabbling because they're in different units. They're not even going to be able to get the heads up. So they start squabbling right there. Boom, boom. And at first they're locking up. Both of them are locking up. Boom, 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 boom. And then Z hits him. Boom, on the jaw, and Kaiser dazes him. And that fool Juanito, he backs up and stumbles, and Z got on top of him and start mixing him. Boom, boom, boom. Z gets so tired, he looks up, and I'm kind of proud of little Z because nobody really expected this fool Z to actually mix this fool up. And the way that this fool Juanito was acting, you would think that Juanito was just gonna mash this fool. But Z hitting this fool. He looks up, the homie tells him, nah, don't stop. Don't stop till the guard comes. Boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden you see the guards coming, they start spraying mace. Bro, Z was still mixing this fool up. They had to literally rush this fool and tie this fool up with the handcuffs. But, oh, I was like, dang, homie. But yeah, bro, that little war out there, man, they do not like each other. Shout out to the Low Town, bro. You guys let me know what you think of the story. Mile High salute. You know what it is. Let's go.